Jungkook had given Tae a smile and told him that he was okay and he needed not to worry. They dragged him to their room from his office and forcefully fed him the proper healthy dinner and then lectured him about the entire hour, all while receiving an amusing smirk from Jungkook and something he couldn't forget. Well, if we sleep together, I won't get sick. They shook his head out of the thought and stared at his phone. He couldn't let him work like this and get only 3 hours of sleep every day. He was aware of the fact that Jungkook would refuse if he asked him politely. So instead, he plotted a plan and put it into action. I don't feel good. I have been throwing up all evening and my entire body is burning. They said and bite his lips after sending the message. Sure, he would see through their lies. He knew they like the back of his palm. You're perfectly fine this morning. What happened? See, he was too clever for his own good. I might have ate something wrong. You don't get a fever by eating a raw food, sweetheart. Now go to sleep and let me work, they said at the text and start typing war with him. So his work is more important than his health, even when his health was perfect. If you don't want to come, you can just say so. I don't even want you here. I was merely informed you because I know you would be about it later. Good night. They placed the phone on the table and sat back, knowing that he would be in the room in half an hour. They blew his nail and flipped his hair dramatically. They stood up for the bed and decided to peel off his mask from his face and take a shower. They walked inside the washroom and performed his business beautifully himself for long and forget about this call. Jungkook home. Remembering his plan, he grabbed that turn off the shower and wrapped a towel around his body. They then stood, grabbed the cloth from the closet and dressed himself up. He was opening the button of his shirt when the door of the bathroom was banged open, making the scream blow, and they horrified at Jungkook as he clenched a towel and their clothes closer to him, yet their hair stuck on his forehead, and he stood there in an ice. This is the thing called knocking, Jungkook? What the heck? He said, wanted to close the door and get the heck out of there because he might be melted into a pudding due to that embarrassment he felt. Jungkook did close the door, but with inside the washroom, he leaned against the door and crossed his arm over his chest, made an eye contact with him. Were not you burning up? He raised his eyebrow and gave a stir before his eyes came down his neck to lower down his vision to his toe, and then went back up to his face. He repeated the action for several times, and this solo. What are you doing? Stirring is rude. They stumbled. Who said I was polite? And that's there it was. His famous bang that made him knees weak. They felt the drops of water were dripping down in his back, and a sharp shiver it ran down his spine. I have to get dressed, Jungkook, or I will really get sick. They licked his lips and shifted on his feet. Jungkook got up for leaning against the door and took a step toward him. What are you doing? Stay back. They stopped in a breath and looked around for some time to stop him. He was coming closer. You shouldn't have thought about that before. He said and stepped away now. You know, worrying me because I thought you were sick. Where in his hand were going, they thought in his mind. Way down and down. When you were burning up, his American leaned closer as he took the clothes for him and placed them on the counter. Maybe there was another kind of fire. He whispered in the air, like lips. You can't do it. They breathed out and Jungkook froze and then chuckled before leaning back. I can't. He said so. His hand was lightly brushed, the neck moving up to his chin and then back to the collarbone. No, they lifted his chin. I am the one in minimum clothes here. So let's see who get teased, they said, grinning confidence, and then gasped at his own word. And he smirked. I didn't mean it. I mean, I need to dress up. and we need to go to bed and sleep together. Jungkook grinned at him. No, the gaps. Not in the way I mean sleep, like lay there and close your eyes. Not as in laying there and then kiss. The eyes were pointed and then he gave him a plain look. I am an idiot. Aren't I? They whispered. You are. He nodded. You were supposed to say, no, you are not. They glared at him. Oh, let me apologize. He bit his lower lip and leaned closer to they. His eyes were flinched at their own, and then toward his lips as he descended his own upon them. There was only one mission, was push him away and get dressed properly. But that doesn't happen when his arm was snaked around their waist and pull him closer, towel being the only thing between them. What I am doing? They cupped his jaw and then kissed the thing quickly, along with his heartbeat. The young's breath were mingled with Jungkook's, and he pulled back for a moment and stared at him. His eyes were dark, just like the dark blue sky. I'm done playing around, he whispered, and then kissed her again. No complaints coming out of the young's mind. And then, as he walked toward the door, Jungkook opened the door, all the while staring at they, and then walked inside the room. He placed her on the bed gently, and You're not drunk, he started. No, they whispered. Will you remember it in the morning? They salted and nodded slowly. Yes. Good. He smirked and then jumped off the bed and walked toward the door. Jungkook locked the door and then went back to their wife. He loosed his tie and threw it across the room as the one of his hand was switched off the light, only leaving a dim purple light. The next day they did remember everything that happened the night before. They refused to get up for the bed, even when he knew that he had to, because today was the day of the young reception. They remained struggled between the blanket and thanked Almighty that Jungkook was not in the room when he woke up. So that's how he looked on top of me, they thought, and then blushed, crawling into his pillow. They refused to get up and comfort anyone. It felt like everyone knew they did. In the wall of their rooms, they smiled into the pillow and then shrugged. The sound were mumbled by it. They was blushing so hard right now. Sure, one doesn't feel like this after doing it with their own husband. Then why was he feeling his face were burning up? Why, there was a war going on inside his stomach. The door of the room was clicked open, and he still knew very well it would be no other than the man himself. They peeked at inside the blanket and went beetroot as he saw Jungkook with a tray of food in his hand. He kicked the door closed. He smiled at Tae and then walked toward the bed, getting set on the soft mattress. His hair was wet. That meant that he already showered, and he was even dressed up in a fine and tie on his neck. Good morning, he said, like they didn't just do the deed last night. It just, you feel awkward. Guys are supposed to be confident, not blush to the tip of their roots. They agree of his inner self and clear his thought. Morning. I just did not sneak. They groaned and stared at Jungkook in embarrassment, who smiled like a gentleman. That he was. I made him breakfast. He started. They eyed that tree